Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another Teach Kevin Your Things session. We are going to be learning how to build resumable websites with Qwik from Manu. So, how you doing, Manu?
Hi, Kelvin. Thank you so much for inviting. This morning we just have a bit of coffee
Oh,
with everything ready for.
yeah, you're caffeinated and up,
Yeah,
and you're fast. Okay, or quick? Should we say that? You're quick.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah. So before we get started with the session properly, could you introduce yourself, who Manu is, what you did before, what you're doing now? Just a little bit of background to give us context.
Of course.
Yeah, sure.
So I work in the framework team at Builder. So the framework team we build Qwik, but also other projects, other open source projects like Partytown and Mitosis, which is kind of like a framework free syntax for components. So you can pretty much write something and then we generate any framework code. Before that, I've been always doing API design, SDKs. So kind of my job is always building software to be used by other developers. I started very, very early when I was like 10 years old or something, trying to make video games, but very, very quickly my career went to tools and open source. Like I started to make this game, and one of the game engine really have a lot of bugs and things like that. And I joined the open source project by then and made contributions to the game engine. And actually, turned out I was enjoying more doing that than building the game itself. So very early, I um, I kind of discovered what I like, and I'm just doing now as a professional. I guess my professional life is this now.
Yeah, cool. 10 years. You are the protege. That's a long time. It's a long time. So, yeah, it is. So, can we just agree not to say things like quickly or quick because it just sounds too much of a pun in there. Just kidding, though. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it's funny. Like now I go to every conference, and every time someone says "quick" for anything, I'm just
Yeah.
like standing like what, who?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I get. That's the vibe I've been getting since yesterday. When I had the Y quick session with Mishko, there was just some quick, good pun in there. Yeah,
And that joke, a lot of that jokes.
yeah.
That's for that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, so let's dive into it. Like building resumable websites with Qwik. So, do you want to give us like an intro? Even though I had it previously with Mishko, I want to see your perspective of the whole Qwik journey. Yeah.
So, for me, I think one of the main things to understand about resumability. So, okay, so one way I like to learn things is that trying to find the things that make people confused and then go and attack that things first.
Mm-hmm.
So when you hear resumability, a lot of people confuse it with lazy loading code. Like,
Okay.
and it's really not about that. Resumability is about which code do you actually execute, right?
Okay.
It's about the execution of the code. So um, resuming is really about not watching the same movie again if you stop it here, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
about not doing things you already have done. That's
Okay.
kind of mental. And I think it's important to talk about a lot about this concept because how Qwik does it is not the only way you can do it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So Qwik does it in a way that we think has a very nice trade-offs and very nice properties, but there are other frameworks, and it's Marco 6 is an upcoming release, not the one that is being published right now. They dissolve it in a different way. But not only that, I recently saw in Twitter that there was like some new experimental frameworks that explore this idea, and they actually do it differently. And it's so cool because if you maybe you as a developer don't have to um, really know how to implement resumability, but just having the concept in your mind helps to understand the rest, right? I think that's fundamentally I think it's very important. So maybe we can get into a bit how Qwik does it, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how much to be an overlap with what you talk with Mishko.
Yeah, it's fine. I like the overlap, different perspective. Even though we did go at length at the why for quick, so I would definitely love your perspective. At least now I have an idea, but I'm still gonna
Yeah, yeah.
have an
Now
open
is a
mind.
when we talk. I first talk with Kelvin.
Mm-hmm.
We hear about like he likes to not know anything about it, so he has
Mm-hmm.
like totally free. Now with after talking with Mishko, this is
Yeah, yeah, but I'm still gonna try to feign ignorance and just like, oh, but I don't know. Yeah.
so so resumability. It's like it's this like kind of fundamental concept, principle, whatever you want to call it, that has very nice properties. So
Okay.
I think that's when you get all these things that Qwik can do. In a talk I give, I call it superpowers
Mm-hmm.
because it's really like things that you cannot do with other frameworks.
Okay.
So what I see also is that resumability is not this thing completely separated with everything we have done until now, like React, Vue. Like it's not something completely separated. It's actually a superset. So
Okay.
everything you can do in React, you
Mm-hmm.
can do it in a resumable framework, but you can do some other things more. So I think that's also important because when you are trying to select the trade-offs of, oh, I use this or I use that, you want to really understand how maybe if you choose this other thing, you cannot do things, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's resumability is a very fundamental thing. There is frameworks like Astro that have this um, island architecture, and in island architecture you cannot do everything. So you are constrained by having the islands, and there is it's tough to have communication between islands, and there is like a lot of another trade-offs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like so maybe you have something like this. It's like, well, you cannot fully build everything using islands. You have at some point you just have to have one single one and put everything inside. If your complexity is very big, and I think
Okay.
resumability doesn't have any of these problems, but you cannot easily add it. And I have this app. It's a very simple React app.
Okay.
Um,
Should I share your screen now?
yeah, yeah.
Here we
So
go.
you have this simple React app, and one of the things in resumability is that you have this application in the server. You basically run render hello React, and now at a button, I'm going to refresh this. So the increment starts with 10. I think if we put 10 here, yeah. And resumability is like how I can just click the action, right? So if this application was SPA, I will just click the button and it only executes this. That's
Mm-hmm.
easy because we
Mm-hmm.
already run it. But the moment you have SSR, actually in the client, it needs to run again before you can even click this.
Okay.
You think, yeah, this makes sense because I cannot move this out here. Like I cannot do action because, yeah, like this closure is
Yeah.
wrapping around this state.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that easy to be like, yeah, no worries, I'm just going to execute this code. No, because it's like what is impossible. Like you need this, you need that. It's just not possible. So in frameworks, what they do is to hydrate, which is basically rerun the application. They have to run it again. So all this is recovered, and now you can click. It's like, so Qwik can actually solve this problem. Qwik can execute this piece of code. And if we see here the logs, every time I click, there is the click, the
Mm-hmm.
first one, right? And then the render component, which is this one, right?
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense. And also render parent at some point had to run when the hydration happened. I think we saw it double because of React. It's in some of the debugging mode,
Mm-hmm.
so it does it double. But so it will be like once.
Okay.
Um, in If we see the same thing, quick. It's not hello. I don't know why I put here hello React. Okay, I'm going to open it this in incognito mode. Usually I trust this more. Yeah, so I'm going to put hello quick. And we have a very similar app where we have the render parent, render component, and the click. And there is some state, it's wrapping around this state, right? Like this variable, the count here. But when I click, so these comments that we see here is for the SSR. It happened in the server.
Okay.
The moment I click increment, check this out.
Mm.
It's only run this. How is it even possible? Like it didn't even run this code, not this one. And that's resumability. And we take resumability advantage and say, okay, if you don't need to run it, then we don't have to download it,
Yeah.
right? But the resumability is the concept. It's like you don't have to run it. So if you don't have to run it, maybe later you can say, oh, maybe I don't have to download it either.
Okay.
But it's two different things, right? One thing is resumability, it's the kind of the core principle. And later you can use that to optimize and have things like this. So in this demo, really, this whole thing, it could be removed completely and you will still interact with the app without downloading any. So this, the whole application, but the click handler, which is this one over here, is the only code that the browser actually needs to run in the
Hmm.
browser.
Interesting.
And I think that's kind of crazy, right? Because in this demo, it's very simple, but it's a general purpose framework. And Qwik is not like to make this very simple thing. You can build an application as complex as a React application, and it will still follow this property. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense. And I was thinking, why aren't we doing this before now? Like, has there been
What do you
frameworks that no, like because the whole idea of hydration is double workload, right? Because you're rendering on the server and you also render the entire app on the client before it's even usable. But with the whole idea of resumable apps, once you render on the server, you don't need to render again, and only when there is and like maybe a click, you just run the bit of code that is concerned with that click, and that makes a whole lot of sense. It reduces the workload on the client and as well as the bundle size being downloaded. Yeah.
No, it makes sense, but I don't know if the things are done the way they are
Hmm.
because it's very hard to add this after the fact. Like
Okay.
it's very hard to add resumability when you already have the framework. So I
Okay.
have these slides. I really like this slide. I don't know if you know this one
Okay.
that basically goes through the kind of the what is my view of it. It's not doesn't mean that it's the only way to put it,
Mm-hmm.
but in the past you will have the rendering and interactivity of an app will be separated.
Okay.
You will use PHP to render the HTML. I don't know if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have
I,
things
I,
like this. So you will use the PHP plus HTML, and you will just render that. And then you were like, oh, I need to have a button. I want to be a button that I want to be interactive.
mm-hmm.
So you will add jQuery or something else to add this to the app, right? So you will like split it. Like rendering and interactivity was like two things.
Okay.
And that actually was very performant because that actually is kind of resumable. Like the application running the PHP doesn't have to run again in the client, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that needs to run in the client is the pieces of interactivity. The problem is that, as you can imagine, it's very slow development, it's super error prone, and everyone hates it because it's a pain to build.
Mm-hmm.
It's no one like it. So the generation was like, fuck it, let's make it everything in the client
Okay.
and make JavaScript to be able to build applications. So Angular, Vue, React, Svelte, all of them have this unified model. So you build an application with this component model, which is super intuitive. Is you can build things super fast and very robust. But the problem is that when later we were into okay, how do we add SSR back? We found the problem that these frameworks cannot be resumed. You cannot stop it in the server and secure it in the client. So the only solution is hydration, which is basically um, the server just sends dead HTML that cannot do anything, and the hydration needs to rerun everything to add the interactivity back. And I think the new generation is not going back to PHP, right? But it's taking advantage of this improvement in developer experience of the previous 6 years and say, okay, how do we make it fast? It's like the first generation is make it work. The current generation is make it work right. and now the future Qwik or Marco is like make it work fast. So is I feel like as an iteration, it's like now we know how to build web applications. We have figured it out. React, Angular, Svelte has figured out what developers want, what how to build application at scale. Now is our job to say how do we also make it fast. So that's where we are, right? And you need, and it's very hard for these frameworks to add resumability after
Mm-hmm.
the fact.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm. That makes a whole lot of sense. So yeah, it's like I like to think is it's mostly so we are having all these different ideas and technology that helps to move the web forward, and we just tend to build upon works that have been done in the past and learning from both the pros and cons of the current frameworks. It makes things super excited, really.
yeah, no,
Mm.
yeah, I think so, and I think that if we want to make the web fast, we cannot be like use my new framework that is a pain to use. Like
Yep.
if there is a new framework that says, yeah, you will get a fast website, but no one really wants to make applications with this.
Mm-hmm.
Then no one use it, and I think that's why Qwik, like a strong focus on Qwik, is like it should be super simple. Like it shouldn't be like if you already have used React, like you should be already like solved. Like you should
Okay.
already pretty much without reading the docs, you should pretty much get started very quickly. I think
Okay.
we are doing a good job there. Still things we can polish, but a lot of the innovation here is that because even before Qwik, there were another all one frameworks. So Google, Google created Angular, I mean, from Mishko, right? But
Yeah.
actually, they don't use Angular for everything. So they actually have a framework called Wiz, which powers Google Search, Gmail, Google Photos. It's been for around for 8 years. But the problem is that it's such a pain to use. It's like a Java business logic duplicated, manual DOM modifications, but they use it for these projects, Google Search, because they're extremely complex
Mm-hmm.
web applications. And at the same time, they have to be extremely fast. Because if Google search is low, it probably costs them billions. So they need the two things, and they can probably afford to have, 500 engineers, well, very good, well-paid engineers to work on that. But for most of the companies, they cannot ever use something like Wiz, right?
Yeah.
They will use React or they will use like Vue. So the innovation here is how we can bring what Google already proved and Google is using, but being friendly. So when people say resumability is new, I don't trust this technology. I will say that this is not new at all. Like this
Mm-hmm.
is the concept behind it has been around for many many years, but now it's kind of like easy enough and like to be used by any company, right? It's like yeah, I think that's one of the big innovations of Qwik. Like take these ideas and make it that easy to use in your application.
Yeah, so I think you're sort of like democratizing it, so bringing it to the public because I've always thought how big companies like Amazon and Google get to not use all this React, Vue, Solid, Svelte, but they are fast. Like you really need to give it to Google for the search. Search is almost instant, and it's actually key to that to what they do, right? Because no one wants to wait 2 seconds for their search results. No one wants to do that, right? So, but if you're
Yeah.
leveraging frameworks, because I think, like I said in the talk with Mishko, there's this alternative for Google that's Niva. So it came out and it had a lot of good promises that I liked. But the problem with it was when I tried it, when I compared it with Google search, the speed at which I get my search results from Google was like lightning fast. But with Niva, I
Mhm.
think they are using something like React. It was
Mhm.
very slow because I could perceive how slow it took for the results to come
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Yeah. So
And probably
the
you have the
mhm.
most internet, right? And you probably don't have the worst internet that you can have. Like
Yeah.
sometimes it's funny that the only website that with the very shitty internet that you get maybe in the metro or something,
Eh,
the the only website that works is Google.
oh my god.
Like And this is very complex. Like it's not like it's a hello world app. No, no, no. Like it's that complex,
Mm-hmm.
and it still works. So it's yeah. It's I think once you get that, you will start to think that quick and these things. Yeah, like pay attention because it really changes the trade-off. Like now it's a technology that um, at some point you may not wanted to use that framework because it was a pain to use
Mm-hmm.
and it was not that important. You prefer to develop fast and ship fast. I
Mm-hmm.
think quick changes the equation. So even if you don't, you can now build fast
Okay.
and ship very fast products.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, you can have an amazing performance. Uh, uh, I think the main selling point is like why that thing was that people are very very like engaged because they are seeing how they can start use quick and by default there's no JavaScript. By default it's just like fast and by default it's easy to optimize. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's totally makes sense. So, you've been mentioning the DS of Qwik, and it's actually one of the things why I like Vue for in terms like the DX was is amazing. Like I don't use React because I did not like the DX of React. There were a lot of duplicate, and you have to bind for a button to click. Like you call this dot bind. I don't really understand why I needed to do that, and the whole GXS thing where you have to do class name and all that. That was one of the reasons that drove me away from React. So I want to see the how do we like how can I write a quick application like the framework? Let's use it. Let's see the
Okay.
yeah how it works.
So
Mhm.
so let's get started. I think one of the application we could do is there is a hacker news app built
Ooh,
in Solid.
okay.
Uh, let me see. I think it's this one.
Mm-hmm.
So let me see. I think maybe we can try to open it somewhere. Live
Okay.
demo.
No, that's the view one, but it's fine.
Oh, that's the view. Okay, maybe
Yeah,
maybe view is fine.
yeah, yeah.
So try to replicate this application. So I don't know, like it's just open it here. No, this is view, I guess. Maybe this one actually, this being SSR is going to be very fast. So downloads in JavaScript, not too much. A
Mhm.
vendor, anyways, just interact with it. Okay, so maybe we can try to build something like this. What do you think?
Yeah, it's fine. It's great. Let's go for it.
Okay, so do you build it or you build it and I help you? How do we do it?
Yeah, I think you should. Then I follow along.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think the first thing is just go to the docs, getting started. And I
Okay.
think the first thing is to just use the CLI, just create a quick application from scratch. That should be the easiest. So we're just going to run this. Open terminal, make it a bit bigger. So paste, yes. Okay, how do we call the app? I'm just going to call it Hacker News Quick.
Mhm.
So we are going to start with a starter. So we have the documentation side, a library, or basic. So I
Okay.
think we should just use basic one. Let's click install dependencies. Yes. So we can. Okay, so it's done. So let's
Mhm.
open it. Hacker News. So here I'm going to open the editor with VS Code. Okay. So we have everything here. I'm going to open the terminal here. I always use the terminal inside. So
Okay.
npm start. Recommend us to use npm start. So npm start. Let's see what we get. So this is kind of the starter point, right?
Mhm.
But we probably will not need any of these, right? So let's clean it up a bit. So we have all these components. So we have the all this stuff. Maybe just remove everything here. Let's leave it a bit clean. So here, hacker news app, and we have another route here. I'm just going to remove it too because I don't need that. And we have icon. We don't need the icon either. Header. Yeah, we don't need that. So I'm going to remove all this stuff.
Okay.
The layout. So what we are going to use to build Qwik. So all the starters in Qwik come with something called Qwik City. So you have to think about as Qwik is the core. Qwik is the thing that like the React, and Qwik City is Next.js. So Qwik City brings the routing um, and nice things to build applications, right? So it's not like a different thing. It's like really you have Qwik and then you have City, right? It's like it's
Okay.
not different. It's just like more APIs to make applications fast. So when we started, we already got I started with all we have these routes, right? And
Okay.
these routes, when we have an index file here, it becomes a route in our application. So now it's broken because we just removed this component. But if I reload, the let's say the root directory will be this index, right? And if we want to create another route, for example, let's make one Kelvin. For example, if we put here Kelvin,
Mhm.
not found. Well, we just make a folder called Kelvin, and we just copy this index HTML inside. Say Kelvin, right? So I save, and if I reload, it sometimes now you
Oh,
get in this here that right. So a bit with this, I think we can build an application that looks like the Hacker News. We just have to have. Let me see. I think I closed the link, and that was such a. Oh no, here. So we have top, right? So we have a top. I guess new, right? You click new, show. So we need some sort of um, handler here that will take this thing, right? Like
yeah.
something dynamic. So in order to do that, I'm just going to build a bit of the layout of the application, and then
Okay.
we will get into the code. So for the routes, here I will say a new folder, right? But in this case, I'm not going to call it Kelvin, but I'm going to call it with this brackets. I'm going to say section, right?
Mhm.
And then inside, I'm going to call it index tsx like before. I'm going to copy this code, I'm going to put it here, and now I'm going to say I am in a section. We don't know which one yet. Let's just explore this. So if I go here and I do, I don't know, I'm in a section, see? And if I
Okay.
put whenever, it's going to always say I'm in a section.
Mm-hmm.
So now it will be interesting to get this value, right,
Mm-hmm.
into my application. So later maybe we can, for example, in case of the Hacker News app, if we are in the top, then we will get the top news. If we are in show, we will get the show news, etc. That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so in order to do that, we use location, which will come from Qwik City, and use location exported several things. So it has the href, the parents, the path name, and the query. So the
Okay.
params is what we care about. So in this case, will be section is equal to location, params, and can you guess what is going to be here?
Section.
Section.
Mhm.
So now we put it here. I'm just going to put, we are in section, right? So let's just build this and see what happens. So now it changes, right? So if I put Manuel, it will be Manuel, right? If
Nice.
I'm in top, like in Hacker News, show, whatever, right? So
Mm-hmm.
now in our component, we have already the context, right? So I think that's one of the main things to do. So maybe now we can start to implement this component. I'm going to cheat a bit because creating this from scratch will be a lot of work.
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
But um, because I already built this app, but basically we can. Let me see. So just do one more. Maybe no. Let's not cheat. Let's just do it. Okay, so I just need to go back to the code. So we are going to take solid and try to make it in Qwik. So okay, source. Let's see what they have. Okay, components, pages, maybe story. Maybe it's this one. Stories. Let's see. They get the data. I want to see how they get the data.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so this it seems like use data. Okay. Data. Maybe this. So they do fetch API. Okay. News map news type. I think it's going to be a bit tricky because I don't know exactly what this request or what this request is doing.
Yeah.
But
Maybe we
I
could
have,
check the fetch API. Or
yeah, I think, but if you notice here, these paths are relative, right? So it's not like the full path to get the data. Like, I don't know where they have the actual server that gets they're from Hacker News. So I guess it's routes. No,
maybe
I don't
check
think it's,
maybe check the lead.
which
Uh
one?
leap.
Yeah, leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
AP.
Okay, this
Oh
this sounds promising. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's take this one.
yeah.
So I'm going to. I mean, we can put it wherever. I'm just going to put it here. I'm going to leave it types. This annoys me a bit. Okay, so we have this code fetch API. So it hits this thing, and hopefully we get. Um,
Yeah, I think that is to get a user, while the story is to get the story.
yes.
Yeah.
So let's do the story one
Yeah.
for
So
now.
yeah, let's use the story one.
So story. I'm going to simplify this a bit. So we get the path. So yeah, let's call this section. I think it's more like a section. So section, put it here, and I'm going to put fetch stories section string, and this one complaining. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So we do a fetch here. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
going to do it like our modern JavaScript. Data equal await res JSON. So let's try this out. So okay, so now we have an API. We have an API that in theory we give a section. In theory, I don't know yet if it works,
Okay.
but okay, actually, to simplify a bit, it's going to put it here. So we have an API that if we call it fetch, we will get the data. So how do we use this in Qwik? So in other frameworks, you will have to use something like get the static props in React or something outside the component model.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and that also happens in Solid. So notice that in Solid, um, the data that comes, I will show you here. So I will notice it. So in here, is so data is supposed to be async, but here is all like synchronous
Yeah.
because Solid cannot like the most of the system frameworks are synchronous rendering. They cannot have await inside the component because
Mm-hmm.
the SSR needs to go through in completely static. But we
Yeah.
can have we can totally have that. So for that we have an API called use resource, and use resource is super interesting because inside this API is where we can do fetch stories. I'm going to get here stories await. And how do we get the parent? Well, we do just this. Right? We just
Mhm.
get the value from there. That's it. That's simple. And we return the stories. And we put async here. So now we call this stories. And the very nice thing about this object is that it has a state. We can be pending, resolve, rejected. We can we can build UI that shows the when something is loading, things like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's handy.
So in order to use this, we could do something like stories equal state equal to resolve. But that's kind of tricky. We have a component called resource, which makes this super easy. So resource, we push the value, we just pass the stories itself. And this makes it very easy to say, on pending, I want to render this. On rejected, I want to render that. So on resolved, we can just provide. So here I will have the actual story.
Hmm.
And here we could, in theory, render our stories. So that code, it will take a while to write, but I have it already. So I think it's all this. So I'm going to copy all this stuff.
Okay.
This will be very similar to, let's see where we have the app. I think I closed it. The Hacker News app. Yeah. Anyways, let's just put it here. See what happens. So return. The story is complaining. Let's put it here. Story. Let's see if this works. Where is the link? Sorry. Okay, comments. Okay, it's doing a lot of stuff here. Yeah, it doesn't know. So I'm going to remove the comments because we don't have the comments
Okay.
yet.
Yeah, we don't.
Oh no, I think it's this the code. Wait, that was the code of. That was actually the code of the story itself. So it's
Okay,
this one.
okay, okay, yes.
Yeah,
That's true.
this one. Yeah, and a story preview. Okay, so a story preview. So here, what I see is that we have a nav. I think this nav corresponds to. Oops. What is the app? Hacker news app view. It's going to open it here so we can see it. Live demo. I think it's this bar over here where we are seeing the preview and the previews and more.
Mm-hmm.
It's this thing over here. So I'm going to comment this out for now. I comment it out. Now news list. We iterate through the stories and we have to implement the story preview component. Apparently, so story preview. I already implemented it. So components, story preview. I'm going to put it here. Story preview really doesn't do anything. Okay, story. I will get the types because getting the types will make us much easier.
Mm-hmm.
This is the types of the hacker news. I'm going to just put it here. Types.ts. So we will have, some nice autocomplete and things like this. A story. The story preview doesn't do anything. It just renders it. Like it just takes the values, story points, URL, I don't know, a lot of things and renders it. So it's nothing fancy. It's just a template, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes sense, but if you is weird, please stop me to. Um, okay, so stories. So stories is an array of stories.
Excuse
Uh, stories.
me.
Yes,
Okay.
here. So let's see if this works or there's some issue. So stories is not a function. Interesting. Let's see. Let's put a console log here. See what's going on.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Let's see. Nothing to see here. Moving along. Okay,
Hmm.
that's interesting. Okay, that makes nothing. That's weird. Okay. Because the section is this weird. No. Okay, top. Interesting.
Okay.
So
Can
let's see.
we Can we check
Yeah.
the section that is being used in Vue?
Yes, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Let's do
let's.
that. Oops. Console log. I'm actually going to. Have you ever used Have you ever used the node debugger?
No, I just do console logs most of the time. Yeah, okay. I think I did when I
This
was
one,
working in Electron app. So,
so this is super interesting. Look,
hmm,
right now, if you check this, right, you
okay,
will check the logs, the debugging of the browser,
okay,
right?
hmm,
But notice that in Qwik, nothing runs in the browser. So
yeah,
nothing is really happening here, right? So what we can do, it's run dev debug, and magically there is a new button here. See that?
wow,
So if we click this one, just press continue, nothing is going to happen, but I'm going to put a debugger here. I save, and we stop there, see?
nice.
This is not running in Node, so but we are using Chrome, which is kind of cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. So we do that URL. That seems correct. Let's do this. Res. Oh no. Data. Nothing to see here. Moving along. Interesting. Okay. Let me check. Because
Maybe, do you think the API might be down, or there's a way it's mapped to Vue to just use it? This node,
uh,
yeah. So let's
maybe we are
see.
missing the page. Maybe we are missing the page.
Okay.
Oh no. Mm, oh, show news. Okay, let's try news. Let me just try that one very quick. So news. Okay, we need to put the server running. Okay, still.
Yeah. Can you go back to that API, you like the last file you looked at? I saw something like an item in there. Not this one.
Here.
Yeah. Yeah, you could see there's an item. At,
Ah,
yeah, item slash ID and the page. I'm
maybe
not sure.
let's
Yeah,
let's copy this. Yeah,
yeah,
let's copy
yeah,
this one.
yeah, let's use that one.
Okay, that sounds the same, but only missing this. So let's just put 0 here. The same, huh? I'm just going to put it again, but pretty sure it's the same.
Yeah, it is the same.
Okay, let's see. Maybe that was it. We're going. We refresh.
Okay.
Interesting.
And still nothing to see here. Hmm.
Okay, let me. So we get. Oh, user agent Chrome. Okay. Okay, maybe that's it. I have no idea. Let's see.
Wow.
This is unrelated to Qwik, I guess. This is just like API figuring out how the actual API works. No.
Hmm.
Let me see. So now we keep going. Okay, now
Yeah.
we got
Wow. So
right.
it's actually needed that header.
Yes, we have to put apparently user agent Chrome to make it
Hmm.
work. Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so we get data, and data is an array. So that makes sense, right? So far.
Mhm.
So let's keep going. Okay, so we got this. Nice. Looking nice. The styles are weird, but what we can do is to copy the styles from the Qwik from the Hacker News app.
Mhm.
So these styles are the styles that come from the View app. I think they're exactly the same. So I think global. I'm going to copy this. I don't know if this makes a lot of sense, but I'm just going to copy all the styles. There's a lot of things here. I'm just going to poach all of this. Let's see now what happens. No, where is the app? Mm, right. News. Okay, well, it's not the most pretty,
It's
but
fine. I get it.
eh, um, stories layout. So this is also part of the app, and there is this kind of header with has all the buttons. So it has the uh, these things over here, and it's going to be like a nice to showcase how the routing works for the layouts.
Mhm.
So I'm going to take this layout. This layout, I'm going to, instead of putting it in another index, what I'm going to put it in actually in the layout code. And the layout code is very interesting because I'm going to explain in detail now. What the layout is doing, it's when the route gets selected, for example, this route index, all
Okay.
the layouts will also be executed. So for example, if we go to index, which will be the URL that goes directly to this one, what's main? Okay, it's failing these styles. Let's comment this out for now. I'm going to remove the debugger because it's just always annoying us. So notice that all this code here,
Mm-hmm.
this nav, this header, these things,
Yeah.
it was part of the layout, but then inside the layout you have the content, and the content is index. In this case, this one. But if it's the section, it's going to be this. It's going to be this content, but the layout is always there.
Okay.
So the layout is always going to be visible, and the
Nice.
content of the route is going to be inside the layout, inside the slot.
Okay. That makes sense.
The next thing, for example, is that in the layout you can put the headers, they can put the footer, but then in your actually path, in your content, you only have to write something very small, like the actual content,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you don't have to repeat it for every single case.
Yeah.
In this case, looking bad because we don't have the styles. I think we can just do is layout. Then we can go here and copy main these styles. I think this is the main styles of the quick of the application. So let's just make a new file called layout css. Going to paste it. Let's see. Use styles is not defined. Let's just import it. City. Okay, so now I start to look a bit
Mm.
better.
Yeah.
We get the header, and then here we have the content. If we go to the news, let's see what happens. Okay, so this is looking already much better, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
think I don't know what's going on here. What is so up? Let's try to figure that out. So why is top? Okay, so let me just remove that. I don't know why it's okay. Let's just not put it so up. Okay, so now we have the app, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the next ones to implement is when I go to discussions, the story and the ID, we actually show the story. And I think in this particular one, there is something very, very interesting, which is that it has comments, and I'm able to show and hide the comments without re-rendering, which I think is super interesting. So that one will be, I'm just going to copy what we already have. So we have the stories ID. So I'm going to copy this component we already wrote. I'm going to explore it, but just going to put it in here. And stories, notice that the path has stories and then ID and then the index.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to match something like this, stories and in the index. That makes sense?
Yeah.
The ID.
Mm-hmm.
So inside the component, we do exactly the same. We have the location, and we have a use resource where we get the parent. I think there is a new API for this. Actually, it makes more sense now. It's location, parents, and then ID. So this will be the ID. So we just get the story, and of course we don't have that implemented because we missing these types. But let's get it. So we have the components and API. I'm going to put it in the application. So we just get this working. See if it's I think it has to be with source. Yeah, I think that looks. Is it? We hmm, cannot find it. So component. Okay, I'm going to move this one here. And let's try to import it from here. So it's another one, a bit components. Okay, that's good. And the types, where are the types? Types are here. So I think another one, and we get it there. And the API, we get it here. So this really is nothing related with the API. Is just like this ready to use methods.
Okay.
So we can use it quickly to get the APIs. We are just doing get, but it's really like a fetch, nothing fancy, no dependencies. In the components is where we have like the store preview. I show, and I'm going to show these ones right now. So it's, let me just do npm start. Please, if you have any questions, please,
Yeah.
because me,
Okay. Why it's doing that? So I've noticed a bit of a dollar sign prefixing some names like components. Is there a reason for that, or is just convention?
it's a very good question. So going back, just going to show you with a very simple example, the counter example. So one of the things that Qwik need to do is to break your application into small chunks, so we can run it independently, right? So when we run this code, if it's all part of the same thing, it's impossible to execute this little code without executing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just impossible because it's part of the same. What is going on here? Um, okay. Okay, so we have this app. It's very hard. So the optimizer, what it does is that it takes all this component or this application and breaks it into little chunks. So notice that this chunk over here is the render. So if I put here, hello, it's here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is this one little here, and it's called the app component, blah blah blah. But notice this very interesting thing. When we get to the on click, this one,
Mm-hmm.
instead of having the actual code, it has this little strange thing. Well, notice that this is a lot of code because it's in development mode. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not going to be that much. But notice that there is a QRL thing here as something else. There is not the original code. This is required because this code was actually generated and moved to this different file.
Ah. Okay.
So the dollar. Um, so the thing is that this kind of breaking code has to be specified where it happens. It cannot happen everywhere. Like it cannot happen here. It cannot happen suddenly in the middle of the paragraph, right? There's going to be places where it happens. So there are two ways to solve this. Either we make component magic. Imagine that component is just like a magic word that our optimizer knows, and every time it sees the component, it breaks it. The problem with that is that other people cannot create their own functions because kind of these functions are hard coded into the optimizer. And the second problem is that when you're building a Qwik application, it's useful to know where this lazy loading is happening.
Okay.
So the dollar is not only a signal to the optimizer, to the compiler, it's also a signal to the developer saying, look, in this location is where there's going to be this kind of like magic.
Okay.
I think in software development, when you introduce magic,
Mm-hmm.
it has to be in a way where developers know what is happening.
Okay.
Because if they don't know what is happening, then they will be extremely confused.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why this is working? At the same time, we can explain it. We can say, whatever you see a dollar, there is this set of rules. They are not like complicated rules, but at least you can quickly identify in the code where it's happening. And also for the optimizer to make this work. So it's kind of like a both things. It's good for the optimizer, but we think it's also very good for the developer to know when it's happening,
Okay.
the, the thing. So that's what is happening right there.
Yeah. So it's the dollar sign is actually sort of signaling to both the optimizer and to the developer that this part will be broken out so that we can run them separately.
Exactly,
Okay.
right? And are you familiar that in Vue, no, in Vue, in React you have the hooks, right, with
Yeah.
the use method, right? And they have some rules, like the if you got like React use hooks rules, the rules of hooks, right?
Yeah.
Only call calls at the top level. Only call hooks from React function. There are like rules. When they call it a use effect, right? It doesn't mean that it cannot be called just effect. I mean,
Okay.
React could have created the
Yeah.
method to be called effect, but they put use not for them, but for you as a developer. Because
Okay.
by having use method, now you know that it's a use method. So you
Mm-hmm.
apply the use rules. If they were called directly effect, then you will not know.
True.
You will not know quickly to identify which methods are hooks and
Mm-hmm.
which ones are normal functions.
Nice. Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
in API design, these kind of things are very important because it signals some intention to the developer. And even if you don't notice, when you get used to writing code, you will just identify that the dollar has this meaning and has these constraints, and you automatically do it. But if we remove it, then yeah, it looks very nice, but at the same time when the application gets more complex, then you are like not understanding why things suddenly are not working because you're not realizing that magically component is a magic kind of function suddenly.
Yeah.
That's one of the that's the main reason, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. I got you.
So let's go back to the demo. I think we get working the and let's go up top. Oh no, I think we need to fix this one. I need to
Mm.
put news. I think the links are wrong. So now when I click here, it's going to the wrong link, HN stories, but I think I can fix that because if we just remove the HN, we just go to the story. But what I want to just show is that we are building this demo, this application, and we have all this JavaScript here, right?
Mhm.
But when we actually going to build this application in production, oh wait, let's see, news, it has to be called news. So we build this application and we open the dev tools, right? And we
Mhm.
um, check out the network. There is no JavaScript.
Wow.
And not only that, but if, for example, if I click the comments, okay, it's wrong because the link is wrong.
Yeah, it's fine.
With, for example, we click this button. This button is to collapse the things, right?
Hmm.
I want you to pay attention to this very closely. So notice here that there were some. JavaScript being downloaded. See that?
Service worker.
But see that the initiator of this request was not code. It was not like um, JavaScript here. It was a service worker.
Okay.
This is interesting because in this particular page, Qwik knows that there are some interactivity.
Mm-hmm.
The interactivity probably is this button over here. Actually, let's explore it. So I'm going to explore it. I'm going to go here with the selector. I'm going to click here. See this. On
Nice.
click, I need to download this file and I need to execute this symbol. See that the S D G W G K R, this
Mm-hmm.
thing over here, that's this.
Oh.
Okay, it's the same thing. It's this one over here, right? It's that. It's nothing else. So we are basically saying we have to download this file and get this symbol. What is a symbol? A symbol is again is the export. Is literally, if we go to the files, it's like the export. It's literally I need to download this file
Mhm.
and get this export. And this export is probably like the click handler. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. So notice that until now we haven't downloaded. What's going on here? No one's complaining, but I don't think it's a big. I don't know. Oh yeah, here. We haven't downloaded. We haven't clicked it yet.
Mm-hmm.
But Qwik knows that it can happen. So the service worker is already downloaded it.
Nice.
So when you actually, but not execute it, only download it, not execute it.
Mm-hmm.
By the time you actually click it, it's already there, ready. So
Nice.
even if it's a slow network,
Yeah.
it will be instant. So I'm going to click with it. So if I click, notice that now the request came from the service worker. See that?
Mm-hmm.
Automatically. It already came from it. We see here that it was downloaded again. See that it was again downloaded?
Mm-hmm.
This is only because uh, we don't have cache. The files doesn't have cache, right? So
Okay.
literally, we go to the headers. These chunks are no cache, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why this downloading again. But in production, like in real production,
Yeah.
it will not download again, right? So by the time you interact, um, uh, it's there.
Cool.
The super interesting thing about what I'm showing here as well is that when I'm hiding and showing these components in all the frameworks, Vue, React, Angular, just by clicking this one means that I need to render the children. I
Okay.
mean, it's
Yeah.
kind of obvious, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to hide them and render it, but not in Qwik. So let's see what is happening here. So we have a component in the stories. I think it's called stories ID. I think for the comments, we have this comment component. Let's see what it does. Comment, and it has all the comments, and it has a collapsible component.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
and what the collapsible component does? It's very very simple. The only thing a component does is this is literally the text. So we can put like toggle. Okay, so just to simplify, toggle. But see what it does. When it's open, we put a slot
Mm-hmm.
to project the content. So
Yeah.
this will be equivalent of doing props children in React, right? Or in other frameworks.
Okay.
But in Qwik is declarative. So by being declarative, when you actually interact with this little thing,
Mm-hmm.
you are only executing this code. You don't need to render the comments. You don't need to render all this crap.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. Like nothing. It could be removed remove. The only thing that in the client does work is this little piece of code.
Nice.
Um, and I think the implications are huge because even if we have something that is hiding and showing the components, if we see what is happening, I'm going to show you. So if we say here, uh, we see that there is, okay, let's show it. We see that the components are here, right? Component children in the slot that we describe, in this slot.
Yeah.
When we remove the slot, notice what is going to happen here. So what happened was that all the content get moved to this place, hidden.
Yeah. Okay.
A template
Yeah.
is here. When I interact back, see what happens. The template gets uh, empty. It's not empty because there is something else here,
Mm-hmm.
but it's empty. I know it's like the count. That's why. But anyways, in the context gets here, and yeah, again, and it gets all the content in this template. So Qwik can do something which very few frameworks can do, which is let me show you in a very small demo. Yeah, here, which is the architectural comparison. So current applications, a monolith. If you interact with this little component here,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to click here. Oh no. First of all, SSR is sent to the browser. The browser needs to download the JavaScript, and the next thing that does is that the hydration happens, and everything gets mounted.
Mm-hmm.
When you have lazy loading in a traditional framework, like dynamic imports are, or in React, the lazy component is actually worse. So people think, oh, if I'm using dynamic as lazy loading, actually make the application fast, but actually in many cases you are making it worse because now this is what happens. You make the SSR from the browser, downloads the JavaScript. The application runs the JavaScript, but now there is lazy loading. So
Mm-hmm.
application now needs to do more requests, and then it finishes the application.
Mm.
So it has a cascade of requests.
Yeah.
When you have something like Astro, you have islands. So it's a bit better because you just interact with one of the islands, but it's literally the island, right? You click, for example, in this little button here, and the whole island need to be downloaded because that's how it works. Or
Yeah.
if I interact here, the whole island gets, if I interact here, and at some point, you just get the whole app, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Qwik, it's different, right? If in Qwik, if I interact with this one over here, okay, no, that's a bad example because I didn't want to use that. I didn't want to use one that triggers. No, it is. Yeah, for example, if I interact with this one,
Mm-hmm.
only this one gets resumed.
Okay.
But but there are all even dependency tracking. If I click with something like this, maybe it changes, but it needs to also render that. But it doesn't wake up the things in the middle. It doesn't wake up the parent. It doesn't wake up this one over here, right? Or even if I click this one, it wakes up the parent, but it doesn't wake up the children.
Yeah.
So if you notice in Island, if I interact with four things like 1, 2, 3, you just get the whole application.
Yep.
But in Qwik, you actually have to interact with freaking everything to at some point download the whole application because it's much more fine grained. Like it's very hard to download the whole application because you just need to interact with literally every level manually, right? To at some point get it.
Yeah.
That's fundamentally the difference that in Qwik you don't have islands, right? You just build an application normally, like we just build here, with
Mm-hmm.
components, with stuff, and you just get these properties where this application in Vue or in Solid downloads. I mean, it's just still very fast. I'm not saying that it's not fast, but well, I'm still loading.
Yeah.
131 kilobytes, And not only that, but let's just do this one. So I'm going to, let's just wait a second. I'm going to clean the network, going to disable the cache. I'm going to go to performance. Okay, I'm going to throttle it a bit. So I'm going to refresh. See, so it has to do all this work, no?
Yeah.
It's not a big application, but if we do the same thing in, let's say, news, I'm going to do the same, slow down, not here, performance, 6, slow down, we refresh, so let it finish, I think it's 5 seconds. What we see is that actually there is no execution, there is only evaluate script, but this evaluation of a script is literally, I think, just this one.
Oh,
So even in super small device, there's nothing. And not only that, it's interactive, right? If at this point I click something, it will be interactive.
yeah.
That's mind blowing because it's not like I'm doing HTML only. I'm doing still a fully interactive app.
Mm.
That's the mind blowing part.
Yeah. So the like I'm working on a talk called "Do You Really Need Other JavaScript?" And it was actually like I got the idea from having to use Astro and see like okay, there are most websites that would do well without having JavaScript the first time you load the page. But now that I'm seeing Qwik, you just take the talk into a whole other level that you could have this full SPA sort of app that when it loads, you will get both JavaScript and HTML, but the JavaScript is not run. It's just
Oh, sorry.
in the code. It's only when you interact with it, or you are also downloading it from a separate thread in a service worker. So you are just waiting for that button to be clicked. And when it does, you're not hydrating anything because the button is already there. All you're doing is running that chunk of code that the button needs to work. And it's just another level of performance and speed that you are
Yes,
adding the JavaScript as you need them. It's amazing.
absolutely. I think the thing is that so I'm a big fan of Astro. Like Astro is really bringing also something new because a lot of people might still want to use React on Vue, and using Astro already gives you a superpower. I think
Mm-hmm.
also think about it that way. Like, but the problem with the superpower is that the moment you interact with something in the app, you kind of lose the superpower like
Yeah.
with the first interaction, and with Qwik you keep it like it's you never just because the user interacts
Mm-hmm.
you lose it. So I think Astro is very well suited to build simpler websites. Like you may have a portfolio and you say like, yeah, I don't need something else, but if you're building like a commerce app with user customizations with tons of things, then Astro doesn't give you much value because at some point you need the dynamic things that is going to give React
Mm-hmm.
or Vue, whatever, and then you will lose that ability. The other aspect is that Qwik can do what um, Astro does, but almost by mistake. So I don't have it right now a demo working, but I can show you this. I don't know if you're aware of it. Let me see. So maybe it's going to take me a while because the search in Twitter is like the worst thing ever. It's like unusable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we support something we call Quick React, and we want to have more like Quick View and Quick Angular. And if you see this demo here, I hope like if we invite me to another chat,
Yeah.
I can show you this in real life, but I don't have it ready just yet. So you
Okay.
have in here you have imagine a material UI is this big library of React components for like all sorts of things, right? It's used by a lot of developers. So what you can have is a Quickify button from um, React,
Mm-hmm.
and you get a quick button. And this Qwik button, you can actually put it in your application and it will behave like an island in Astro architecture. So it will not download any of the React code until you actually click or it becomes visible or something.
Mm.
So in Qwik, you can even use React components. Like if you really have a page where you are like, oh, I would love to use, I don't know, React 3JS, like this very cool library to have like 3D visualizations and things like this. It's like a very cool, it's very cool, let's see, examples. Like this kind of thing, like very I don't know, I want to just use something that allows me to have 3D rendering using React. So this very cool thing.
Nice.
Uh, you can still do it, right? You will just use Qwikify to create a Qwik component that wraps a React island, and you can configure using Qwik that this component is going to only load when you click on it, or it's only going to load when it becomes visible in the screen. So, for example, you can have imagine a landing page like Qwik, and have a React component in here that until you scroll, it will not load. So you will actually have a fast website still.
Mm. Interesting.
And and for free. Like it's just like and again, it's like we never built Qwik React. So no, we didn't build Qwik to have fast React. Like Astro was built that way. Astro was created to have partial hydration in other frameworks. But Qwik can do the same because resumability can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like resumability is this very core thing that we talked at the beginning that can allow these kind of features.
Yeah.
It's not like we build it on purpose, but it just turns out that resumability can do it, what Astro does.
Nice.
Um, so it's very
That's
interesting.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. So we are at time even cap it up at an hour 17 minutes. And it's interesting all what we've covered. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Kelvin. Thank you for having
Yeah,
me.
yeah, sure.
Um,
So I'm definitely gonna be reaching out for like a mitosis session, like you said. Like there are this cool tech that you guys are building a builder. So definitely gonna want to like have sessions on that. So before we wrap up, do you have anything you want to plug? Like if I want to ask a question on Qwik, like I watched this video later on and there's some questions I want to ask. Where should I go to reach you and the broader Qwik community?
so so the Qwik community right now, I think it's in a very sweet moment. Is this moment where there is a lot of quality, people extremely excited, super welcoming, and the only thing you have to do is to go to the Qwik .builder.io,
Mhm.
and then at the top right there is like a Discord button. Just click and you join.
Okay.
You can follow us in Twitter. My It's Manu Corporate, but probably we will share
Yeah,
here.
yeah, I'll add it to the
We're
description.
talking about these things.
Mhm.
We are really like super nice. We are just like three people. I'm just working remotely. Like I
Mm,
work from Budapest. Misko is in California. Adam is. So for us, it's not really like we are there all. Like everyone in the community is more or less the same. I talk with you, but other people, sometimes I just join call with people in the Discord.
mhm.
Super nice. You should definitely, if you want to try something new in front end, I think Qwik is such a interesting project to experiment with.
Yeah,
Definitely. I'm a
sure.
bit biased though.
Yeah, I get you. No, like I have seen it, and I think it's really really interesting what we could do with Qwik. So I'm definitely going to play around with it, and I encourage anyone that's watching this video later on to also try it for your projects. Okay, so thank you. So we are done for now. Thank you so much, Manu.
Thank you very much, Kelvin.